If you have a late 90s to early 2000s Ford F-150 that has a dull, flickering, or straight up out digital odometer, this video is for you. I'm going to show you guys how to fix that. As of right now, it's not doing it, but when I'm driving, whenever I hit a bump, anything like that, this will flicker, cut out, it'll come back on. It's kind of like not very reliable. First, for tools, we'll need a little bit of plastic pry bars here, or a metal one, or a flathead screwdriver if you have it, and a 7mm socket. Alrighty, so first step here, guys, I'm going to take off the battery cables here. We don't want to be working on any electronics with power to the vehicle. Don't want to short anything out. Just play it safe. The first and the easiest panel to get off is this one right here. This is just held in by tension. You just give it a little tap or a little yank, and it pops right out. Something that'll help you get it out of there is if you put your key in the ignition, drop your gear shifter all the way down if you have an automatic, and tilt your wheel if you can. That'll give you a little bit more room to get that panel up out of there. And with that panel off, we can see some hidden screws. We got one up under there. We got two right there. 1, 2, and 3 there, and then you got another one right behind your headlight switch. You got a couple spring-loaded panels right here, and these are all 7mm. Once you get all these off, this panel will start coming off. Alrighty, now that we got the headlight switch out of the way, we took it off, got the connections and everything out of there. Remove that screw back there. As you can see, it's starting to come off here. Now, this is held in there with a couple little clips and things like that. Just try to be as gentle as you possibly can. This is older plastic, and it's been a long time since it was put in your truck, so try to be as gentle as you possibly can. You do not want to break anything. So we got that out of there. You can see the little rubber things that was holding it in. Like I said, just try to be as careful as you can. This is old, brittle plastic. You don't want to break it. Now we can move on to the actual gauge cluster itself. You've got 4 screws, one at each corner there, one there, one over here, and one at the bottom there. Now on automatics, you do have to take out your shift indicator. Alrighty, with that stuff out of there, we can see the gauge cluster is moving. Now this is for automatic truck owners only now. If you get up under here to see your gear indicator right there, there are a couple little black plastic tabs right at the very end of that clear bit. You push them inwards towards the center of the gauge cluster and jiggle it out, and your whole gear indicator will pop down. But I can't really show you with how it's at, but there are 2 electrical connectors, one about in between your speedometer and your other gauges over here, and then another one about the same over here, but like next to your tach and your other gauges. They will both have a quick release clip on the very top that you will push down and they will slide out, and then your gauge cluster should just slide right on out of your dash like that. For the next step here, we're going to need to get to this connection right here, which means you're going to have to take off this back white bit here. There are 7 screws altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They are a T10 Torx head bit, so we'll pop this guy off here. Now that we got all them off, this little back plastic piece you just pick right up. The next part is going to be very scary, but just be very gentle and you will be okay. You're going to have to pick up this control board and just jiggle it out. All these are going to have wires and everything running through them. They're spring loaded, so just gently wiggle it out and it'll pop right off. Alrighty, now that we got this off, these pins right here, which is on the back side of that little wire that we took out, are what causes the issue with all these gauge clusters. They are notorious for having bad solder. You guys probably will not be able to see it, but this first pin right here is just cracked up. It's really mangled really bad. Now just check all these pins right here for messed up solder and things like that. Put new solder on them and you'll be all good to go. While you have this gauge cluster apart, it's a good idea to replace any burnt out bulbs you have, and then we'll put it all back together. It's not the prettiest job in the world, but just kind of dab some solder up on there. Like I said, the connections in there get all cracked and jiggly and everything like that. That's what's causing your issue. So as long as you secure it with new solder, it doesn't have to look the most beautiful. Nobody's really going to be back here. All right, now that we got the board and everything cleaned up, I put it right back down under here. Make sure you get all these little pins right here lined up. These are all your gauges. Push them down. Make sure this board is fully seated on there. You don't want any, sitting up sideways, not getting good connections, and now instead of a burnt out odometer, you have a gauge cluster that doesn't work. So put this all back on here, put the shield back on there, reconnect your hook up there, and put it back on your truck, and we should be good to go. Extra step here, if you like having a clean pickup, if it's not, just a work truck that you drive once a year, you could take these screws out here. They're T10s, just like the ones we just used, and wipe down inside of here. There is dust and everything that does build up inside this cover, and since you have it off, it's pretty darn easy to clean. You might as well do it. Now they got all the connections and everything hooked back up. We're going to give it a quick power cycle. Look at that. It's all bright, and it's keeping on. We're going to give it a start real quick just to make sure everything's good. Starts right up, and it's bright. Just like that. Like that, you've got the dash repaired, your gauge cluster's looking good, and you're all good to go. Subscribe for more tips. Oh my gosh. Dreams are made of these. Give them a tune up. Look at that.
Yummers.